everybody, welcome back to another Joe Weather video. Today we take a look at a winter storm that could be potentially forming and impacting the Midwest, and potentially a big pattern change that could give the Northeast, East Coast, and potentially even some parts of the South their first real chance at a winter storm. As you can see here on the map from the National Weather Service, if you look down into the South, you have numerous warnings, advisories, and watches up right here in central Alabama, northern Alabama, and northwestern Georgia and southern Tennessee. You have frost advisories are in effect. Down by South Carolina, you have wind advisories from this. I wouldn't call it a nor'easter. I'd say coastal storm that is going to be affecting the southeast here and down into Florida. You also have some wind advisories, but mostly as of right now, it is a coastal flood warning, and along the coast of the East Coast, anywhere from southern part of New Jersey all the way down into Florida, you could either have a flash coastal flood advisory warning, or even some storm warnings off along the coast. Now, if you take a look into the West Coast, you do have some, if I am seeing this right, in higher elevations of California, winter storm watch in Northern California, and back up into Washington, Idaho, Oregon, and parts of Montana and Wyoming. You also have some winter weather advisories here. Now, like I said before in the beginning of the video, we will be undergoing a big pattern change potentially. So this is what the CPC Climate Prediction Center's temperature probability of being above or below average. Right now, you can see it's mostly in the middle of the country and including the southeast, where it is most likely to be below average for the next 6 to 10 days, and out in the west and central and parts of the northeast have chances to be above average temperatures. But if we continue to move on, you'll see a difference in a moment here. The 8 to 14 days, you can see this starts to build more. This cold starts to build more into the Midwest, more of the southeast and into mid-Atlantic, starting to approach the northeast. And as you can see here, of the south and the southeast, southwest here, sorry about that, is going to be above average. And parts of northern, northeastern states that you can see here. But as the day goes on, it will be getting more cold and colder from the CPC, because yesterday it actually showed above average temperatures all the way out into northern Virginia, western PA. And as you can see, it shifted all the way back here because it is starting to see more model runs come in. If we take a look at the precip map, you can see the next 6 to 10 days will be mostly above average in the northern states. See anywhere from Washington all the way back into the upper peninsula of Michigan and into central Ohio and northern North Carolina points north will be above average precip. And anywhere in the south, pretty much besides South Carolina and central and southern Florida, most likely has a chance to be below average precipitation, and into maybe southern parts of California and southwestern parts of Arizona if that does pan out. And the next 8 to 14 days, it is pretty much the same, except in the Northeast, it looks like to be average, nothing too particular to happen, but from that winter storm that could be impacting the Midwest, you could see it's average to some pockets of this area, slightly above average precipitation here. Now on to the moment you've been waiting for, the winter storm that I've been talking about. And like I said, this is the coastal storm that I was talking about too. That could be called a nor'easter, but I won't call it a nor'easter because it just sits there and wanders off by Bermuda. But if you take a look at the top part of your screen here, you see you have a 998 low in northern Iowa, and you have some snow starting to form in northern Minnesota and eastern parts of North Dakota. You'll see as I continue here, the snow starts to blossom. This is the next run. You can see down to 992, all the way down from 998 to 992. Sorry if I sound a little sick. I have a little bit of a cold going on. This is all from the allergies because it went from warm to very cold. Last night for me at least, it was 29 degrees, shockingly. We were only projected to be 38. but it went down to 29 because we had clearing in the sky and it kept getting colder and colder. And right now I'm actually at 37 degrees. But as you can see, the snow starts to blossom, the storm deepens, and it creates its own cold air. So it starts to bring in more cold air from the north, from Canada, brings it down, and starts to create its own air because of dropping pressures. And look at this. You actually have some heavy snows forming anywhere from possibly most northern parts of Wisconsin, but it looks like to be mostly in Minnesota and the most northern tip of the Upper Peninsula in Michigan, all the way back into western parts of North Dakota. And this storm almost starts to sit there. The lowest it gets on the GFS is 983, which is pretty intense for a nice Midwest storm like this. And then by, let's see here, by 1 a.m. from Saturday, excuse me, 1 a.m. Friday, it starts to move out of the Midwest. But it doesn't just impact the Midwest here. As you can see here, this storm is going to bring tons of cold air down from Canada and all the way from the Arctic. I wouldn't say Arctic air, but it's going to be coming very, very strongly and potently. As you can see here, this is a cold front passing by. You have rain, then behind it, it gets colder. But as you can see back here, you already have another cold front starting to form. And we could possibly get a clipper system that comes down from there and brings even more cold air, as you can see here. It could be a weak upper disturbance, or it could be a nice potent clipper system like the 12Z run showed. As you can see here, it's a nice potent little clipper system that passes by the areas that just got snow from that other storm. But if you go back one run more, there's nothing there. It shows the clipper system, and it shows a weak little upper disturbance. And all the way from November 15th, it looks to be even colder too. So anywhere from at least eastern part of the area, in my area at least, anywhere from Sunday all the way from, let's see, Thursday, it could be below average temperatures. You get a little bit of a break because the storm starts to track up into the Midwest here. It goes straight up. But if this were to pan out, I'm not sure if this will be highly accurate because it's 300 hours out. If you go back one run, it shows a big storm in the Northeast, possibly, and you go back one more, it's just tons of cold air raining down. But if you were to believe this run for some reason, it has the warm air, cold air taking a break and then coming back quickly, and that is pretty much it, all the way out into November 22nd. Now, if we take a look at the upper air and let's see what's causing all this cold air to come down from Canada, we have to look at the 500 millibar heights anomaly. So this is what it is right now, at least as of 2 p.m. You can see you have troughing out in the west. That's why you have a nice winter storm that could be happening. You have your coastal system that is affecting the southeast areas. And if you look up in Canada, you have a little bit of a negative NAL forming. And it looks like to stay like that for a little bit. But as you can notice, you have a positive EPL. So you have negative pressure in the Alaska region, and you have a negative PNA. But as time goes on, you'll see a pattern flip like I was talking about. If we take time and go out into the future here, you can see you start to get ridging out in the west. And then eventually you get a nice big storm to come up into the Midwest. This is what the storm is right here. And after that, it brings a lot of troughing down. And if you follow these millibars up, you can see it is pretty much up from Canada. All the way. It's not connected to the Arctic, but it is definitely connected from the colder parts of Canada. And that's your big ridge, trough out in the east. And this is your big ridge that is going to be forming out in the west. And every time you get troughing out by Hawaii, there's definitely going to be a trough somewhere in the United States. And it looks like you do get a little bit of a vortex to come down, if not a low pressure system. Now, if you were to continue with this, let me just erase all this, and you continue, you can see that you get another round of troughing coming down into the United States, and you still have your positive PNA out here. But if you look up in Alaska, you can see that you do get a negative EPO, which, when negative, forces even colder air to come down and more troughing in the eastern part of the US. So that could explain why the models are starting to pick up a more colder solution here. And if you continue with, oh, my bad. If you continue with the GFS here, you can see it takes a little bit of a break, but you can see how deeply negative this EPO is getting. There's going to be a ridging that forms up in Alaska, which is a negative EPO here. And once this forms, you get a little bit of more troughing, like I said. But this is in between troughs, so you do have a little bit of a ridge and a trough out in the west because your PNA is negative for a short time. But as you can see here, if we take a look to zoom out here once again, you can see there is not a single pressure up in the Arctic that is negative here. This is all positive up here, which this could mean numerous things. And it could explain why the vortex is acting like it is, and I'll show you at the end of the video. It could mean two things, like I said. One, it could mean all the cold air is coming down because you have a negative EPO, positive PNA, and negative NAO, so it all comes down into the United States, and it could be really cold. I would say below average to extremely below average in some areas, especially if the European is correct. Or it could mean that the pressure is starting to attack the Arctic vortex and it may start to split it into two pieces. Which last year it came down and it gave Texas punishing cold. It gave it a huge snowstorm for that area and ice storm, which is terrible. And then it gave the Northeast two big storms. Now, if we were to continue, you can see what I mean by this cold returning back into the east. You can see how positive this, negative this EPO gets. It starts to get deep colors of the highest color that possible for the EPO. And you see, once again, you do have your trough coming back here. But this time you can see that it has straight connection to the Arctic, no stopping whatsoever. So this could be, if this is true, punishing Arctic cold. You have tons of ridging out here, and you have your trough all the way out by Hawaii. But once again, this is long hours out, and you can see if it were to be correct, it would just be rounds and rounds of cold air, and you have your huge trough out by Hawaii. But if you were to go back one run, it wasn't like that at all, really. You do have, I would say, you're troughing out by Hawaii. I don't know why I went that long. You do have a positive PNA, but you don't have your cold trough out in the east. You have a more ridging across the whole United States, and you have a low pressure system out there. But if you want to go back to this run, you can see it's completely different. That's why you can't really rely on 378 hours out, especially on just one run. Now, if you want to take a look at the European, it's pretty much the same way. Oops, sorry about that. This is 72 hours out. You see you have there's tons of troughing out in the west coast here, but quickly that changes into a more blocky pattern. You can see from this start right here, you see this piece starts to ridge up. It goes all the way up into the Arctic. You see your trough come down with your co-op with your winter storm that's going to be affecting. You get a big trough to come down, and there you have it. There's your trough that's going to be happening around November 13th, 14th, 15th. You get this big trough that goes into the south and all the way up to the east. You have your negative NAO there, your positive PNA, and your negative EPO. And if this were to continue, if it, for at least, if this is correct, 24 hours here, you get your big trough to stick there. And then, looks like more than 24 hours actually. And then all the way through hour 168, all the way to hour 240. That's the longest it goes, but it looks like you get your fairly positive PNA, at least negative NAL, but strongly negative EPO. So that explains why you have your troughing still out in the East Coast here. Now, this is the GFS ensemble members. I have to say these ensemble members have been doing really good recently when it comes to troughing and showing storms for the whole United States. This trough that's affecting the East Coast right now, the ensembles had it for 2 weeks before this happened, and it looks to be showing another trough like what the other models are showing. So you have to give the money where it's due to these models, and it's been doing really, really good. But if you want to continue with the ensemble members, as you can see here, you do have somewhat at least neutral or negative EPO. Same thing with your NAO, somewhat neutral or positive, but you do have a positive PNA definitely here, at least on our 174 on the 18Z. But you can see here you have your troughing all the way out in east, and you do have your troughing by Hawaii. If you want a good trough, you do want a trough out in Hawaii. That means there'll be a dip here, 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 and you can see it's like a spinning circle. It goes round and round almost. If we continue throughout the days, you can see that the trough is still there, but as you can see, it starts to lose its confidence this long out, which is definitely normal from these models. You take a little bit of a break, and then it comes right back by late November. Now, if you want to take a look at the 850 millibar temperatures to see how it is, we'll start at hour 126, but then you see this punishing cold possibly come straight into the east. This was last run, this is its run now. You can see it has been very consistent when it comes to these cold shots. And let's see here. Let's see how far out it's been showing. Since, I don't know when, since November 1st, it has been showing possible cold temperatures in the East Coast. And if we go all the way to today's run, you can see it's been showing the same thing for the past 6 days. And if you want to continue here, you can see it doesn't even get warm. It stays cold all the way out to November 18th, all the way from, let's see here, at least for my area, it starts November 14th, takes a little bit of break on the 19th, and it comes right back. And if you remember, it's been showing cold for the past 6 days, right? It was hour 384, it showed it still, and look, on hour 384, it's still showing cold, but for November 22nd. So that leads me to believe that there will be chances coming up for the East Coast and parts of the Northeast and Midwest for storm systems, possibly even good amount of snowstorms. For this winter, I think it could be front loaded, and it could be starting relatively sooner than people think. Once again, I'm sorry if I keep stopping. My nose is very clogged up and congested, and once again, it's the allergies that have been killing me. So I'm sorry if I have to keep stopping and drinking some water. But if you're still watching, thank you so much for watching this video. I still have one more thing to show you, but just want to take a quick moment to thank everybody that's been watching and supporting my channel. It really means a lot. Even though I haven't been posting a lot recently, I am truly thankful for all the support I've been getting, even if it's only a handful of views. It always makes my day just to see one view on a weather video. But excuse me right there, but on to the last thing for today, the polar vortex. And if you want to go look at this yourself, you'll have to go to the regions on the GFS, Northern Hemisphere, and upper dynamics in a 10 millibar height. Now, this is where the polar vortex is right now, as we are speaking. You can see this is what it is right now. It is weak, really weak actually. And it's sitting near Siberia, just off the coast of Siberia. But if you want to continue to play it out, you can see it starts to migrate back towards Europe, not Europe, America, and parts of Greenland. But as you can see, it stops. It stops right over northern Greenland and northern Canada. It starts to build up a little bit, and then all of a sudden it starts to stretch out. When you have a polar vortex that starts to stretch, is always a good sign when you want snow and cold air. But the GFS does something even more. It starts to split, not split. It starts to stretch even more to the point where it looks like it's about to split. last year we had the same looking thing. You have, it looks like the one form one vortex over here and one vortex right over here. Splits. If this were to happen, you would see very, very cold air start to come down in the next 3 to 6 weeks. So that would be late December, early January. Coldest parts of the year for some areas, such as the Northeast. Now, if this were to happen, this happened last year, a lot of areas saw above average snowfall, and some areas saw snow for the first time where they have never seen snow before. As we all know what happened in Texas, the power grid got shut off due to the terrible cold. They aren't built for snow down there. They're built for hurricanes, tornadoes, and they don't have the insulation and heating systems like we have up here in the northern part of the country. Now, I'm not saying this is a good thing, but if you want snow, this is always a good thing to see, but it's not always a good thing for people across the country. It may be good for you, but it could be terrible news for some others. Now, I for me, I want the vortex to split, but I don't want it to be as bad as last year. But if you're a snow lover, it's always a good sign to see it split. And if we continue with the last slide, oh wait, we are on the last slide. We can see how it really starts to get stretched here. I'm not saying this will happen. It's the GFS has been going back and forth with this. If we go back here, it looks like one run ago, it looks like to be sitting right over the Arctic Circle, being fine. If we go back one more run here, this looks like to be the same, and one more here, it looks like to be there. But this could be a start of a trend here. You never know. Thank you guys for watching. I really do appreciate you guys watching and listening to me suffer with this cold, but I had to make a weather video sometime soon. I thought today, since I had nothing else to do, might as well. Make sure you go like and subscribe for my channel. I truly do appreciate it, and have a great day.